Kenya's biggest conversation enters the second hour, and we begin the hour with the day's proverb. CT Muga.
Right. Where a woman rules, streams run uphill.
Where a woman rules, streams run uphill.
Contrary to streams flowing.
Defies gravity.
Yes. Or it introduces a new gravity.
Pigs fly.
That is one certain way of looking at it.
Okay.
Impossibles become possible.
Oh yes, what is traditionally considered impossible become possible.
J'avoue.
And give it time, whatever is considered exceptional is soon normalized.
You know, I'm wondering whether this was actually meant to be a positive proverb by those who conceptualized the proverb.
Please?
Or were they trying to be negative? You know, where a woman rules, things just go haywire.
But is that not the beauty of Proverbs, Eric?
Stream starts moving uphill, as in things just become abnormal.
And hills become meadows.
Yeah. It's like they're saying it's going to be disruptive.
That is certainly an interpretation you could apply to it. As I said, this is the beauty of Proverbs. People will quote it to suit the circumstances that they find most applicable to them.
Okay. Sawa.
Mesawa.
Sawa inde.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sawa. Let's talk, because this is what the ladies that we're about to talk to usually do. Talk. You know about TED Talks, global movement. And then there's now the TEDx, which is organized in various cities. So there's TEDx wherever, TEDx various locations. We've had a TEDx Lavington taking place for a number of years now, and where people come and they share their experiences and their thoughts about various topics that have been put together by those who are organizing the particular TEDx. So we just want to understand now, what is TEDx all about? What is TEDx Lavington all about? What is it that they do?
Parklands, Lavington?
This one is TEDx Parklands. TEDx Parklands, sorry. TEDx Parklands. And what they do. One of the ladies that we were about to speak to is the operations lead for TEDx Parklands. She's also a human capital consultant. She's Jessica Chege. And the second lady that we'll be speaking to is Shalini Bhalla-Lucas. She's an author. She's a motivational speaker. She is a radio host. She doesn't do morning radio, clearly, if she's with us at this point. But let's talk to them. Jessica and Shalini, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Let's start with you, Jessica. As operations lead of TEDx Parklands, tell us about TEDx Parklands. First of all, how did it start? What have you been doing so far? And what's it all about?
All right. Thank you for having me here. So TEDx Parklands is an idea that was born out of two friends who were just watching TEDx videos one Sunday afternoon, and then they just had that idea of, okay, why don't we have TEDx events happening in Nairobi? And a space where people share ideas under the Nairobi sun. So that's how it started. And a group of friends met, and we've been doing this for this is actually our 5th year since 2017, with our first event happening in May of 2018.
How many events have you held in those 5 years?
Wow. 2 events every year, apart from last year because of the pandemic.
All right. So that's about 8 events.
Yeah.
And what is it about? How do you curate the events, the conversations? Is it on a specific topic and then you look for people to come and speak? Or is it people who are willing to speak, who reach out to you and then you invite them to come and speak? How does it all work out?
All right. So this journey has been an evolution. So the first time we had different topics, depending on what we wanted to have conversations about, as well as catching the different ideas that we believe that the Nairobi scene really wanted. So that's how we started. And as it has evolved, we steered towards the sustainable development goals and just seeing how can we be able to inspire ideas that are geared towards change and inspire people to make changes not only within themselves but within their communities. So how through those different categories, then people would be able to apply, and then they would go through a rigorous process whereby they are chosen depending on their ideas, and then finally they'll be able to come through, going through a vigorous coaching process with the help of two coaches who have been brilliant, guiding us and the speakers in ensuring that the talks that come out at the end do inspire and have that award spreading. Sorry.
Okay, so I then coming to you, Shalini, how do you decide who comes in to speak about what? Who is inspiring others through these talks that are had? And then how do you make those decisions? Or can anybody with an idea come and have a conversation with folks via TEDx platforms?
So from what I understand, because I'm one of the speakers, I was nominated by a couple of people, and then the TEDx Parklands team sift through all the nominations, and then they pick 6, 7, or 8 people to go through the process. And as Jessica said, it's a rigorous process. So we were nominated in probably October last year, informed that we had been chosen in December, and then we started the whole curation process. I had to give 5 or 6 drafts in. Once my draft had been approved, we had 5 or 6 presentations. We had Zoom calls. It was quite a tough process, I think. And what we were given were just 3 words: the big picture. And from that, we had to create the draft and our ideas.
What is the big picture? Am I allowed to ask that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the big picture is very different to what you think. I mean, what do you think the big picture is? What does Jessica think the big picture is? And if you were to watch the 7 talks on Saturday night, you'll see that we all interpreted the big picture very differently. For me, the big picture is, my question was what is the true meaning of life? And I look at embracing grief to find the meaning of life. And what could be bigger than the meaning of life?
So, as you give these talks, looking at you then from a writer-speaker perspective, are you looking to inspire? Are you looking to teach? Are you looking to share your ideas with the rest of the public? What is it? I mean, we know what TEDx agenda is, the goal is, but what is yours? I mean, in tandem with TEDx and saying, okay, so this is what I have as Shalini or any other speaker that would come along. What is your goal in all of this? Or to be famous?
So yeah, it's a good question. Everybody's goal is different. Some might be to entertain, some might to inspire, some might be to change people's minds about something. But at the end of that 18 minutes that we're given, and it's only 18 minutes, you want to literally change people's lives. You want them to go away and think about your talk and be inspired to make a positive change in their life. So my talk was very much about embracing grief. I lost my husband 5 years ago to cancer, and immediately after that, for 18 months, I didn't want to live. I wasn't embracing the grief. I was too consumed by grief. Once I decided that grief was something I had to work through, then I was able to move forward with life. I have witnessed, we have all witnessed in the last 14, 15 months, we have all had loss and grief because of COVID. Loss of jobs, livelihoods, health, people, a normal way of living, freedom to move, connection. So we have all globally as a collective felt grief. So what I say is you need to turn into that grief and accept it. You can't change COVID, but you can change how you react to it. And I say that the most important thing is that we have to find happiness from within to become resilient and compassionate to deal with what life throws us. My my talk is very much based on my life. As an author, I've written 3 books, and I've got a book here, you may see it, called Happiness is a Mindset Shift. And I use the 10 techniques from here. I talk about 5 or 6 of them in my talk, which includes things like mindfulness, compassion, altruism, looking after your body, speaking your truth. And that's, I try and inspire people in 18 minutes in the big picture.
Let me ask this question. I like the idea of inspiring people, but someone listens, you say it's 18 minutes. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is, if your discussion took 18 minutes, how would 18 minutes of something I listened to change my life? What is it about this messaging that guarantees that my take-home message will be, I must change something having listened to this? What do you do to reinforce it? Because in the absence of reinforcement, I highly doubt if any change will actually take place.
Do you really think so? Being a radio presenter, you know that something you say, just one line or one sentence, could change somebody's life. And that's not even 18 minutes, right? Somebody could hear you on a Wednesday morning say, it's very similar to the proverb this morning. I thought it was fantastic. Women in leadership, achieve things, the uphill things. So it's
the women climbing hills which have streams that move upstairs.
Exactly. Right?
Okay.
So we achieve the impossible. Achieve the impossible. So a woman might hear that and go, yeah, we do achieve the impossible. And today I'm going to do whatever to try and achieve something in my life that I thought was impossible.
So what you're telling me, if I understand you, that with that one proverb, I've become a writer, a motivational speaker, an inspiration provider. So
you can actually train them now.
So
Instead of 18 minutes, you can shorten it to 30 seconds.
Okay, I get you. I get you. This is awe-inspiring. So I'm all these things all rolled into one. This is very good.
Now you have no more questions.
My questions are over. I'm inspired.
You're adequately inspired.
I'm inspired to keep quiet and just listen.
Jessica, I guess that also comes to you, Jessica, because Shalini talks about the kind of rigorous training that the speakers are taken through. So there's a selection process and then there's a training process. Shalini says, how many drafts again did you submit, Shalini, before the final?
I gave 5 or 6 drafts.
5.
Yeah. My first
5
one
drafts.
Was absolutely awful. That was not inspiring in any way, I can tell you now.
So what is it about the first draft and the fifth draft that you could say has actually happened? Was it a written draft, or did you come in with your thoughts and then you were told, now tell us?
Both. Yeah. So I was told, give me your ideas, and then in the first draft, it was literally I just wrote. But by the 6th draft or the 5th draft, we had whittled down to what my inspiring message should be. I'm sure Jessica can elaborate on that.
Yes, Jessica.
Yeah, so the idea that we usually have is when we bring a speaker on board, we give them a guideline of what a TED Talk ideally is supposed to be, like a skeleton version. And we encourage them to have the idea and put it down on notes. And at our first speaker curation meeting, that's when we have the opportunity to listen to what they have to say. And from then on, now our 2 coaches and as well as the curation team is able to now give feedback on what that idea is and how they can navigate through the talk, and so that by the end of it, they can be able to have a really powerful short talk that is below 18 minutes, and that's the overall goal, to inspire, and not only that, but to share an idea.
And so the people that you actually end up speaking with, Shalini, during this whole training period, the first draft to the 5th draft, are they people that have expertise in public speaking, or is it expertise in thought processing, or are they fellow authors, or are they people who are actually talking to you from the TED headquarters?
So the TEDx Parklands have a very big team that they work with, and they had 2 speakers, 2 curators, Japheth and Stephen, who have experience of public speaking, who have experience of drafting, speeches and motivational speeches. So they first received our drafts. They literally cut them to pieces, helped us put them back together. And then when we're actually on stage in front of them, they teach us how to use a stage, right? So some of us will walk up and down, we'll rock back and forth. They show us how to engage with the audience. So they have very good experience. And then all these TED Talks, TEDx, which is always a local community-based organization, and in this case, TEDx Parklands, all these talks are sent to TED in New York to be checked and before they're uploaded onto the official TEDx. So not just any talk. If a talk is not up to par, it will not be uploaded. So it's quite a big deal, and it's a big deal to be a TEDx speaker because the next step could be a TED speaker, which are really the change makers in this world.
What's the process if I wanted to nominate C.T. Muga to the next TEDx talk? Or I'd like to hear C.T. Muga in the next TEDx. What's the process for getting him up on that stage?
Jessica, I think that's your question.
By the way, before you respond, Jessica, you do have to understand that Eric has a very wry sense of humor. But anyway, answer the question. Yes.
But I'm very serious.
So the easiest or the best way is to go on our website, which is www.tedxparklands.com. And there is a prompt where it tells you to nominate a speaker. So you can either nominate yourself or you can nominate someone else. And then we'll be able to get that notification. And then now when we start the process of curation, then we'll be able to reach out should they meet the criteria.
So what for activities that are done that are clearly inspiring people and making people to live, their best life or, make decisions towards that, what's the end goal? To have more inspired people who are making better decisions over time? What is the end goal and how far do you want to reach? Because it would seem that right now, anybody who would be the beneficiary of some of the gems that come from TED Talks and even TEDx Talks are those who then have access. And what happens to those who do not? Are they uninspirable just because they cannot be reached? What's the end goal through all of this?
TED Talks and TEDx Talks are a form of inspirational speeches. So, and not just inspirational, informational as well. So I know that when my husband had cancer, I turned to TED Talks to see how people were dealing with cancer or death, bereavement, grief. I turned to them. Also motivational, if I'm setting up my business, I would look at motivational speakers on there. But for those people who don't, there are so many ways to inspire a person, right? Listening to your radio show is inspirational. Watching a TV program is inspirational. TED and TEDx are just one form, but they are a growing form because there are so many ideas on there that are innovative, that are interesting. And I might not agree with everybody on a TEDx talk. How could I? We're all so different. But I think just the fact that we have access to this fantastic resource is amazing. We're hearing people from all over the world, from Asia, from Australia, from America, from Africa, talk about how they perceive life, how they are inspired, how they inspire, how they empower, how they inform. It really is a fantastic resource, and I think it's something that if we could push in Africa and in Kenya, I think it would be quite a big change-making. It would be quite revolutionary, I think. And that's where places like TEDx Parklands, and you mentioned Lavington and TEDx Nyali, it's a growing phenomenon.
So essentially, is there a limit to any topic that one can discuss, or are there specific things that you must look at? Is it a wide open sphere?
It is.
So essentially, this is a global village where people who have interesting ideas and meet certain standards can simply go there and air their views. I see.
But also, it can't be offensive. It can't be racist. There are certain terms.
You can't describe people in the way you'd actually genuinely like to describe them.
You have to be diplomatic.
Okay.
Can I?
However, if I could,
So the big picture was the topic we gave us. When you watch us on Saturday, you will see every speaker approaches this very differently. Like I said, what do you think the big picture is? And that's what's exciting. Our interpretation of those two words, the big picture, is like poles apart. And my message might go to somebody and really resonate with them, but it might not. Whereas my friend McKenna, who's also one of the speakers, her message will resonate with somebody else. And that's really important. TEDx resonates with everybody on different levels.
You know, when you say big picture, you're right. It resonates differently because, as you mentioned it, what came to my mind, Kenya Film Corporation, or the form it was when I was young, every once in a while would come to estates and there would be this big screen where they would air these movies and yes, with voiceovers and so forth, and they were enthralling. Big screen. So yeah, I get you. Big picture. Yes.
That was a big picture.
That was definitely a big picture then. Yeah, I get you. Yes.
Jessica, how do you come up with the topics? How do you sit down and decide? So the next one, let's call it the big picture, and then the other one, you're going to call it the down lows, the rivers and the valleys. Who comes up with this, and how do you actually arrive at what is going to be the one that flies?
All right. So for the first 3 years, the theme was under the Nairobi sky, and this was because we wanted to showcase what Nairobi has to offer. We have so many people that are really changing lives that maybe their stories are not being heard. And for the big picture, I believe it was inspired by one of our previous speakers' talks. His name is Isaac Hunja, and he was just telling us how we can be able to have a larger scope in life. As Shalini has said, everyone has a different interpretation of what the big picture is, and we wanted that to spark a conversation, especially now during the pandemic. What is the big picture to you? What is the big picture to Shalini and myself and everyone else who's listening in, and ultimately who will be able to watch the videos on Saturday?
Okay, I get it now. It's up.
But sorry. In Kenya, how many such groupings do we have? I heard you mention Nyali. Now we know of Parklands.
And Lavington.
Kariobangi?
Wow, there are quite a number. There's TEDx Buruburu, TEDx ISK, TEDx Cows, TEDx Nairobi. I think in terms of consistency, and just how we've been able to keep the momentum, I think that's why we are here today. But there are quite a number.
You see, why I mentioned Kariobangi, I was going south of the Nairobi River, and I'm thinking where the bulk of the people who actually live in this city or the metropolis, actually where many people live. And these people share this same lovely space that we call Kenya. And their take and their view on this life as we see it, I am certain would be very different from somebody who lives, say, in Parklands or Lavington or Kilimani. Yes. Or Ngong. Yes. So, you know, this picture you're drawing is actually becoming clearer and clearer and clearer.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yes, because as you expand it, it's getting bigger and bigger. And the picture is getting enormously big. Yes.
Clearer.
Clearer. Good word, clearer.
That's true of any society, right? You'll have different pockets of society wherever you are in the world. And different platforms will speak to different people.
Yeah.
So you have a certain demographic that listens to Spice FM, that watches KPN Home, that might, and then a different demographic will listen to Capital FM, for example. So that's, in a way, TEDx is like that. It speaks to perhaps a certain pocket of society at the moment. But the idea is for it to grow. It is online, so if you have data, it is accessible, and that's one of the things, obviously, that's an issue as well. And then language, it's usually in English. So, yes, it is limited to certain pockets of society, but that's true of any platform, I would say.
How do you get to... Okay, so go ahead, Jessica.
So the X actually means independently organized. So it doesn't really mean that only a certain number of people can be able to do it. It's open to anyone, and especially the X means that the TEDx events are situated according to different communities. So I can even see here there's TEDx Kibera and TEDx Westlands and TEDx Ridgeways. So it's depending on what kind of conversations or what ideas you want to spark in different communities. And it's not just situated to different scopes of different parts of town, but it's open to everyone.
So what do I need to do if I wanted to get into if I wanted to create a TEDx Syokimau, for instance? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to get the TEDx? Or can I just go ahead and just create an event and call it TEDx Syokimau?
No. So TED Global are very strict in terms of the guidelines that they give people. So you have to apply and go through a very rigorous and strict application process. And afterwards, should you get the license, then now that's when you'll be able to actually go and make a TEDx Syokimau. And even that name is contingent on whether or not they agree to it.
I see. And then
there's also a TEDx Youth and TEDx Women. So somebody like an organization like the licensee like TEDx Parklands can organize TEDx Youth or TEDx Women specifically for drawing in the youth, which is a really exciting denomination of it, I think.
So as you conclude the conversation, there's a question that has been asked of you, Shalini.
Yeah.
What motivates a motivational speaker?
It's to inspire people by telling my story. So because I'm a widow, I want people to know that what it was like to have depression, to go through grief, to be suicidal, but to be able to move forward with that. The exciting time, I've only been in Kenya for 14 months, having lived abroad for 23. I'm born and brought up here. It's an exciting time to be in Kenya because suddenly the mental health issue and the conversation is opening up. And I want the mental health conversation to have no stigma. So my motivation is, let's talk about all these issues that are a human feelings, human emotions, and not to be ashamed of talking about mental health. And that's what motivates me. If one person hears my speech and is motivated to go and get help or to change their life or to find happiness internally, then I've done my job.
Indeed you have. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us today. So TEDx Parklands, the big picture happens this Saturday. How do we get to watch Shalini's story?
You can go on our website, www.tedxparklands.com, and there'll be a prompt to ask you to register. Once you do, you'll be able to get an invite on your email, and the link will be there.
Free of charge?
Free of charge.
Ah, okay.
Live on YouTube, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. Have a lovely day. And looking forward to seeing the big picture story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.